Very good morning, students. Welcome to your English literature class. Today, we are going to continue the poem The Patriot by Robert Browning. By the end of the poem, you will be able to explain meanings of difficult words as used in the context of the poem. You will be able to explain stanzas 4 till 6 in your own words. And you will be able to identify and understand literary devices used in the poem. So students, so far we have done how the speaker of the poem narrates the story of his golden past. In the first two stanzas, the poem introduces the conditions of the past, and in the third stanza, the poet reveals on how and why the conditions changed. Now students, let's continue our class with stanza 4. And before starting with the explanation, note down the meanings of difficult words of stanza 4. First, a palsied few, which means a few persons afflicted with paralysis. All allow, which means everyone admits. Shambles gate, the gate leading to the place of execution, as you can see in the image also. Next word, better, which means better view of the execution. Next word, scaffold, which means a platform where the criminal is executed by cutting off his head or hanging him by a rope. Again students, you can see in the image. Next word, foot, which means near. Trow means think. Now students, let's read stanza 4. There's nobody on the housetops now, just a palsied few at the window set. For the best of the sight is, all allow, at the shambles gate or better yet. By the scaffold's very foot I trow. Now here students, the speaker returns to the present and talks about what he sees. He describes the present setting and in a way contrasts it with the one on the same day a year ago. Now he has been convicted and is being led to the gallows to be put to death. Here students, gallows means a raised wooden structure used especially in the past for hanging criminals. So here, as compared to the setting in the first stanza, now the place is all empty. Now there is nobody on the rooftops cheering him. Only those men who are taken down by palsy and unable to cross the threshold of their houses are watching the patriot as he marches towards his death. Here students, the meaning of the word threshold is entrance of the house. So here the reason why no one is there to see the speaker is because people have gathered at the shambles gate, the gate of the gallows, to see him die. The people want to be where the action is taking place, that is the place where he is being taken for death sentence. Here students, the speaker further makes the heart-touching comment that the best sight is at the gate of the slaughterhouse or at the very foot of the scaffold. Now students, let's proceed further and understand the literary device used in stanza 4. In the line, just a palsied few at the window set. Here students, the poet has used a visual imagery that stimulates the sense of sight. And here the poet has used it for the few paralyzed persons sitting at the window. Now let's read the explanation of stanza 4. As the patriot is being led to the gallows, he finds no one on the house roofs to bid him farewell. Only a few crippled persons sitting at the windows are watching him. Most of the people have gone to the shambles gate or are quite near the scaffold to have the best view of his execution. Here, students, the meaning of the word gallows, a raised wooden structure used especially in the past for hanging criminals. Crippled means paralyzed. Shambles gate means the gate leading to the place of execution. And the meaning of the word scaffold, a platform where the criminal is executed by cutting off his head or hanging him by a rope. Now let's proceed further, students. Now, note down the meanings of difficult words of stanza 5. First, more than need means needlessly. A rope cuts, which means the rope is so tight that it cuts both his hands. By the feel, from the feeling. Fling, which means throw. Misdeeds, evil actions. And read stanza 5. I go in the rain and more than needs. Here the fifth stanza is the continuation of the previous one and further describes the speaker's humiliation at the hands of the people. So, it is raining as the speaker is walking towards the scaffold. Now here, students, rain symbolizes loss of dignity, and it also symbolizes that the patriot is innocent and he is washed clean. Now let's read the next lines. A rope cuts my wrists behind. Here, students, the patriot says that people are dragging him strongly. Even both his wrists are bleeding due to the rope that ties them more tightly than required. And I think by the feel of my forehead bleeds. For they fling, whoever has a mind, stones at me for my year's misdeeds. Here, students, the patriot also feels that his forehead is bleeding because someone from the crowd has thrown a stone towards him. He regrets that a year's misdeeds have erased all the memories of his good deeds from the minds of the common people. Now, students, let's understand the literary device of stanza 5. Here in the line, I go in the rain. Here, the poet has used pathetic fallacy, which means it is a literary term for attributing human emotions and conduct to all aspects within nature. It is a kind of personification that is found in poetic writing. And here, students, the use of pathetic fallacy in I go in the rain adds to the depressed mood and could be seen as a sign of speaker's inner crisis and sadness. As we have already discussed that rain symbolizes losing his dignity and it washes him clean, representing his innocence. The rain also works to create a tense atmosphere. Now let's proceed further. Now in the lines, I go in the rain, and in the line, I think my forehead bleeds. Here the poet has used visual imagery as the Patriot being led in rain with his forehead bleeding. Third literary device, in the lines, a rope cuts both my wrists behind, and in the line, and I think by the feel my forehead bleeds. Students, in these lines, the poet has used a tactile image. Now, what do you mean by tactile imagery? Tactile imagery that stimulates the sense of touch. And here, in these lines, there is a feeling of tight rope cutting his hands and the feeling of blood coming down from the forehead of the Patriot. Now let's proceed further. Now students, let's read the explanation of stanza 5. The Patriot is being led to the scaffold in the rain. A long rope has been used to tie up his hands tightly on the back. The rope is so tight that it cuts both his hands. He feels that his forehead is bleeding. It is due to the stones hurled at him by some callous and cruel fellows. Here, students, the meaning of the word hurled, to throw something with great force, and callous means not caring about the feelings or suffering of other people. They hurled the stones to show their resentment for the so-called misdeeds done by him during the year. It is ironic that they have completely forgotten his good deeds. Here, students, the meaning of the word resentment is a feeling of displeasure. And ironic means sarcastic. Now, let's proceed further. Now, students, note down the word meanings of stanza 6. Thus I entered. Here, students, I refers to the Patriot. It means I entered the city as a hero. Second, thus I go. Again, I here refers to the Patriot. It means I am living as a disgraced prisoner. Triumphs, victories. What dost thou owe me? Which means, what do you owe to me? Now students, let's read stanza 6. Thus I entered and thus I go. In triumphs, people have dropped down dead. Paid by the world, what dost thou owe? Me, God might question, now instead. 'Tis God shall repay, I am safer so. So here students, the poem ends quite optimistically. The Patriot has entered the gates of death and now is ready to go to his life after death. The speaker has resigned himself to his fate. He believes that in victory people drop down dead, but his imperfection will bring him closer to God. The Patriot hopes that since he did not receive his reward in this world, he will be rewarded in the other world. He feels safe in the hands of God. It reflects Browning's optimistic philosophy of life, that is, God is in his heaven and all is right with the world. Now students, let's understand the literary devices. So in the line, "'Tis God shall repay, I am safer so." Here the poet has used an irony, which means a statement or expression whose intended meaning is quite the contrary to the apparent or literal meaning. Situational irony occurs when things take a turn opposite to what is intended. And here it is ironic that when he is dying, he feels safe. Now students, let's read the explanation of stanza 6. The Patriot entered his city amid great rejoicings and honor. Now he was leaving it in great humiliation and insult. He feels that if he had died a year ago, some people actually collapse in excess of joy. God would not have cared for him. Now, here, students, the meaning of the word rejoicing is to feel or show great happiness. Humiliation means the feeling of being ashamed. Collapse means break down. So, here, children, the patriot thinks that if he had died a year ago because of excessive joy, then God would not have cared for him. But now, when he had not been rewarded by the people, he was certain to be rewarded in heaven. He feels safe in the bosom of God. Thus, even in intense defeat, he finds something to console himself with. Now, students, this is all about our today's class. Your homework is do the homework given in your SNAP homework. Thank you, students. Have a nice day.